The room went completely still the moment the words left my mouth. Not the polite pause people ignore, but the kind of silence that presses in on you. My husband blinked like he hadn't heard me correctly. His mother froze mid-bite. And for the first time that evening, I didn't smile. My name is Alina. I'm 34, married for 7 years, and until that moment, I was the woman everyone called reasonable. Calm, easygoing, easy to rely on, easy to overlook. I earned more than my husband, paid for most of our lifestyle, and still managed to feel like a visitor in my own marriage, especially where his mother, Marina, was concerned. She believed my income was a shared asset, something she had authority over simply by existing. That dinner began like so many before it. Her apartment smelled of overcooked food and sharp cleaner. The table was set stiffly, formal enough to feel unfriendly. Marina asked her usual questions, polite on the surface, edged underneath. "So, Elena," she said lightly, glancing at my handbag, "are bonuses still unpredictable? Must be stressful not knowing how much extra you really have." I answered the way I always did, calm, grateful, neutral. I didn't mention that my paycheck paid for the car outside, the vacation she bragged about to friends, or the medical bill she'd slipped to my husband the month before. Then she laughed soft and knowing and turned to him. "Well, at least her income can support the family when needed. That's what wives are for." Something inside me finally clicked into place. I looked at my husband, not her, him, and told him quietly that one more comment from his mother about my salary would end polite conversations forever. That I would explain things myself. About money, about boundaries, about ownership. He didn't respond, just reached for his water, eyes lowered. Marina smiled, already satisfied. That's when I understood it had never been about dinner. The drive home was silent. City lights blurred past the windshield. Silence, when chosen, carries weight. I waited for him to say something, anything. Instead, he exhaled and said, "You didn't have to make it awkward." Awkward. Not invasive, not humiliating, just awkward. That was when the pattern became clear. Marina always framed her comments as concern. Suggestions, jokes, and every time my husband softened it, excused it, told me she didn't mean harm. Family was family, he said, but family didn't send midnight payment requests. Family didn't forward renovation estimates. Family didn't treat my income like an inheritance. That night, lying awake beside him, I realized the pressure wasn't accidental. It was coordinated, and I was the only one pretending not to see it. A week later, it surfaced as practicality. Over coffee, my husband casually mentioned his mother was thinking of downsizing, then added that she wondered if we could help bridge the gap for a few months. We? The word felt wrong. I asked how much. He hesitated. That pause said everything. When he finally named the number, it matched my entire monthly income. I laughed once, sharp and disbelieving. "And you agreed to this?" He frowned. "I said we'd talk about it." I'd learned that talking was just the prelude to consent. That night, I opened our shared accounts. The transfers I'd ignored lined up neatly now. Bills I didn't use, charges I hadn't approved, gifts marked miscellaneous. Not one big betrayal, dozens of small ones, normalized. And the worst part, he thought I'd never look. The public moment came the following Sunday at Marina's birthday lunch. Family, neighbours, people who loved applause, I wore a simple dress and said little. During dessert, Marina stood and raised her glass. "I want to thank Eleanor," she said warmly, "for being such a supportive wife. Some women forget money isn't theirs alone after marriage." Polite laughter followed. My husband smiled. Something hollowed out in my chest. Not pain, just clarity. I stood, lifted my glass. "To clarity," I said evenly. Because misunderstandings happen when people assume access they were never given. The room froze. Marina's smile slipped. My husband whispered for me to sit down. I didn't cry afterward. That surprised me. At home, while my husband paced and explained intentions and embarrassment, I opened my laptop. Calm, precise, I listed everything: contributions, accounts, access I'd granted out of trust. Silence, I realized, had been mistaken for permission. So I corrected that. I separated accounts, changed authorizations, scheduled meetings, drafted one clear email outlining boundaries and reimbursement, no blame, just facts. When I looked up, my husband was staring like he'd just realized I spoke a language he never learned. "Don't worry," I said softly. "I've got it handled." 3 days later, Marina called. Her voice was overly sweet. "There seems to be a problem with the transfer." I let the silence stretch. "There isn't," I replied. "The access was temporary. But we counted on that money." "I know, that's why future expectations require agreement and past withdrawals require reconciliation." She laughed sharply, called me dramatic. "No," I said, "I'm being accurate." The panic came quickly after. Repayment requests, itemized, documented. Marina stopped calling me and went straight to my husband. Tears, accusations, shame. For once, it didn't reach me. When the deadline passed, I forwarded everything to a lawyer, not to punish, to formalize. Marina paid, quietly, fully. Because my lawyer noticed something she hadn't expected me to see. My money wasn't just helpful. It had been covering tax exposure she couldn't afford, revealed. When my husband said, "You could have ruined her," I shook my head. No, I gave her a choice. 2 weeks later, I moved out, calmly, secure, clean. Marina lost access, my husband lost the comfort of silence, and I gained something far more valuable: control, without cruelty. Money exposes entitlement. Boundaries expose character, and the truth becomes obvious the moment you stop being useful.